John, chapter 13, Peter and Jesus have a discussion, and Jesus foretells Peter's denials of him. Their discussion is symbolized by the letters in Genesis, chapter 1, verse 3, "Let there be light." In other words, Peter and Jesus' discussion is symbolized in other words, that is, the words, "Let there be light." Indeed, it is symbolized in letters and even parts of letters. The E symbolizes Peter, and the T symbolizes Jesus since it resembles a cross. However, the other letters have amazing symbolism as well. The E symbolizes Peter since an E resembles a coiled up, lowered P. The discussion is occurring at the E and T in let, and they're discussing what could happen in the future. The potential future events they discuss are represented by the remainder of "Let there be light." If you choose to believe that God's word could be so perfect that the following can symbolize parts of the discussion in John, you might be amazed at how infinitesimally detailed the connections are. And, as with all the videos in this playlist, feel free to pause it at any time to enjoy trying to discover the connections for yourself. Therefore, if you choose to believe it is possible, the following are fair game. 1. Non-contextual meanings of words. 2. In some cases, the pronunciation of a letter sounds like the pronunciation of a word. 3. Parts of words, and even parts of letters. 4. Text is built from left to right. So a letter in the text comes after the letter to its left. One other more specific hint is that Jesus referred to himself as light. That is in John, chapter 8, verse 12. Where I go. The primary symbolism is that the T, Jesus, goes to the T in there. A second way the T in there symbolizes, "where I go," involves a non-contextual meaning of the word, "go." To use an analogy, a piece of a jigsaw puzzle goes in a certain place. Both the word, "there," and the phrase, "let there be light," are similar to jigsaw puzzles, using the analogy. In order for the phrase, "let there be light," to be the phrase, "let there be light," the word, "there," goes after the word "let." Likewise, in order for the word, "there," to be the word, "there," the T goes in a certain place at the beginning of the word. In addition, Jesus is the Word himself. That's in John, chapter 1, verse 1. So, this further strengthens the connection. A third way the T in there symbolizes, "where I go," involves a non-contextual meaning of the word, "there." The word, "there," can also mean, "at that location," and the word, "go," is connected with a location. Where I go. The last way focuses on the I part of this phrase. Within a letter T, the vertical stroke is the letter I. So, the I portion of the T goes to the T in there. This principle will be used later in this video, so that can be another hint. Now that you have an introduction to some of the types of connections that are present, I hope you can use this knowledge to find more connections. Actually, there's a similar connection with Peter's question which Jesus is answering. Peter asked, "Where are you going?" The connection involves a combination of three of the hints mentioned at the beginning. 1. Non-contextual meanings of words. 2. The pronunciation of a letter sounding like the pronunciation of a word. 3. Parts of words. Indeed, once you identify that connection, you'll see there's a similar connection to it if you think again about Jesus' statement, "Where I go." I will cover these later for two reasons. 1. To give you more opportunities to figure them out for yourself. 2. To not get bogged down in the more infinitesimal connections, for now. You cannot follow me now. Since their conversation is at the ENT in lead, that is now. This is shown by the red circle labeled 1. There seems to be another connection with now, shown by the red 2. This represents the fact that the phrase, "You cannot follow me now," comes after the phrase, "Where I go." Let's consider the two phrases as a unit. Where I go, you cannot follow me now. Where I go indicates the future, but now indicates the present. This seems to equate the future with now. As discussed previously, where I go refers to the T in there. Let's consider the word follow. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, text flows from left to right. Therefore, a letter follows the letter to its left. The purple circles indicate what follows the two references to me. 1. A space follows the T in lead. 2. An H follows the T in there. So, Peter, the E, does not follow either T. Also, as discussed in the previous slide, an E cannot follow either T, because an E does not go, that is, fit, in either place. In other words, an E in either place would cause, "Let there be light," to no longer be, "Let there be light." You shall follow later. These connections are among my favorites in this video. In addition to the primary symbolism, there are a few more connections using the following hints, or a combination of them. 1. Non-contextual meanings of words. 2. Words broken into parts. 3. Parts of letters. The primary connection is, in relation to the previous discussion regarding now, later is at the E in there. Next, do you see two connections specifically involving a more detailed look at the word later, using the three hints just mentioned? Break later into L, 8, R. Do you see the symbolism? The vertical stroke of the H resembles an L. If an L, 8, or swallowed, an R, it would resemble an H. The E follows L, 8, R. Break later into L, at, ER. Do you see the symbolism? One meaning of at is at that location. The E follows the L portion of the H at the location of the E, and more specifically at the location of E, then R. Also, consider the word follow. What two words does follow sound like, especially in relation to the explanation at the beginning of this video regarding why an EE can represent a capital P? An EE resembles a capital P that has fallen low. You shall fall low later. Why can I not follow you right now? These connections are the same as, or are slight variations of, previous ones. The main difference between these and the previous ones is that this pins down the exact location of now. Recall that now could be interpreted as the T in let or the T in there. Since Peter uses the words right now, it seems to specify at the T in let. The word right also confirms that, since text flows from left to right, the next character in a sequence is located on the right side of the previous one. It follows by being to the right of the previous character. As mentioned when explaining the connections with Jesus' statement, "You cannot follow me now, Peter," the E does not follow the T in let. Using a slight variation of Jesus' statement, "Where I go, you cannot follow me now," the I in Peter's statement can also be used to represent the vertical stroke of the T in there. Even though I in Peter's statement refers to Peter, it is still the case that an I does not follow the T in let, right now. The I follows later, since the T in there follows after the space after let. I will lay down my life for you. This is my absolute favorite set of connections in this video. I hope you enjoy them too. Peter does not say when he will lay down his life, but one portion of let there be light seems to connect perfectly. The hints are 1. Words are build from left to right, so think of a word as a building, and think about how a building is constructed. The foundation, at the bottom, is laid down. 2. Jesus is symbolized by the T, and Jesus referred to himself as light, as mentioned previously. 3. Peter was, in a sense, part of Jesus, as expressed in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 30, "We are members of his body." 4. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 4, "A time to laugh." An EE has been described as a coiled up, lowered P. It has also been described as a P that has fallen low. A P that is laid down is another appropriate description of an EE. LIGH is the foundation that has been laid down, for the T. Sometimes, GH is pronounced F. Therefore, the connection is that LIGH could be pronounced LIF. lay down your life for me? This is basically a repetition of what Peter said. This seems to have a connection with the part after, let there be light. And there was light. A cock shall not crow, until you deny me 3 times. These are also among my favorite connections in this video. The hints are, 1. Jesus referred to himself as light. 2. When does a cock crow? 3. Non-contextual meanings of words. In this case, for the word, deny. A cock crows when light first appears, which is at the L in light. Synonyms for deny are, disallow, block, prevent. The word, light, symbolizing Jesus, is prevented from entering the text, until after an E, symbolizing Peter, has occurred 3 times. The word, light, first enters the text at the L, which is when the cock crows. Deny me 3 times. This could also be read as, deny me 3 instances, deny 3 instances of me. There are only 2 instances of Jesus before the cock crows. The first is the T in there. The second is the word, be, which symbolizes Jesus because the word, am, is a form of the verb, to be. John chapter 8, verse 58, Jesus said to them, Truly, truly I say to you, before Abraham was born, I am. Until. What if the last 3 letters were rearranged? Until could be rearranged as, unlit. Since light did not appear until after the word, be, the situation before the L in light is, unlit. Now, if you recall, when we first looked at Jesus' statement, where I go, I pointed out that there's a similar connection with Peter's question which Jesus is answering. Peter asked, Where are you going? I stated that, once you identify how Peter's question, Where are you going, is symbolized within let there be light, you'll see there's a similar connection to it if you think again about Jesus' statement, Where I go. I stated that I would cover these later for 2 reasons. 1. To give you more opportunities to figure them out for yourself. 2. To not get bogged down in the more infinitesimal connections at that point. So, let's now address those connections. The connections involve the word, where. Use a combination of 3 of the hints mentioned at the beginning. 1. Non-contextual meanings of words. 2. The pronunciation of a letter sounding like the pronunciation of a word. 3. Breaking down the word, where, into parts, similar to what we did with the word, later. Where. Break this word into W and here. W. Double, or duplicate, U. Here. Duplicate you, Jesus, the T. Here. Now. Duplicate you, Peter, the E. Here. That is, within the letters, here. Here. That's very fascinating, don't you think? Were those connections intentionally put there by God? Or are they all just coincidences? And are all the connections, among all the videos, mere coincidences? Or is it something in between 100% intentional and 100% coincidence? If it's possible it could be in between, maybe the Bible is worthy of further consideration? Especially when that further consideration can be as enjoyable as discovering for yourself the connections in these videos.